believe that after this class, you'll be able now to answer any question on a translation, to describe a translation, and also to draw the image when given the object and the translation vectors. So this is the major part of our class, which is a condition whereby now you need to draw the image. All right, so let me just put it this way. To draw the image. So there we're gonna draw the image given the object. So you will be given the object, given the object and the translation vector. And our translation vector, which is our TV. So the question is, how is this possible that I'm given a triangle? Let us consider, given this situation, given triangle ABC with the vertices. Remember, you'll be given the vertices of the triangle where you are given the point A. So you're given maybe A is -1, -2, -1. We are given the point B, -2, -3, and we also have the point C given as -1, -3. Let's say these are the coordinates that we are given. Let's say these are the coordinates that we are given. Triangle ABC. But now we are given to draw. It will be a question, all right? You'll be given triangle ABC. Then the question will ask you to draw this. Draw triangle ABC. Then you draw your triangle. Then after that, maybe it's another item where now you're asked to draw the image. So in this case, because I need to explain a lot of translation vectors, so I'm just going to write, draw the images. Draw the images of triangle ABC, of triangle ABC. Under a translation, they are going to mention the transformation so that you know how to approach the question. You cannot just be given just a transformation, it's a transformation. They have to mention the type of the transformation. It's a translation. So under a translation, okay, so let us just say with the following translation vectors. With the following translation vectors. So under exam condition, they are just going to give you one translation vector. Draw the image of triangle ABC given the translation vector. Once you are given the translation vector, you know that the translation vector is used when I'm working with what? With the translation. So you know that was a translation. But in this case, because we want to have a revision, just gonna have a lot of translation vectors. Let's just have the first one. Let's say our translation vector is -2, 0. The second one, let's say 2, -1. The third one, let's just say 0, -2. And the fourth one, let's just say 4, 1. Okay. So this is what you're going to do. This is like, we need to know how to answer this type of a question, to draw the image when given the object and the vector. So the first thing is to draw your object. Your object is the triangle that you're given the triangle ABC with A, -2, -1, B, -2, -3, and the point C. All right, so let us mark our points on the graph. A, -2, -1. -2 versus -1, you mark your point. That is to indicate the point A, which is the starting point where you are starting from. You are starting from this point A, which is -2, 1. So you mark, your point A. B, it was -2, -3. -2 versus -3, you mark your point. That's your point B. C is the point, it was given -1, -3, -1 for X and -3, you mark your point. Remember, like I said, after this, you need to join the points that you are given, all right? So A to B, then you also join B and C, then you also join A and what? A and C. So this is your, this is just the joining of the of the points by the ruler. So you're using the ruler to join all these points. So this one is not a problem at all. You have the object. Now, this is our triangle ABC, originally given from what we have there. But the question is, we are supposed to draw the image given the object and the translation vectors. Okay, let's start with the first one. Given the translation vector, because we ask draw the images. It's a translation, and we've got these translation vectors. So the first one, we are given the translation vector, which is -2, 0. That's our translation vector. So given the translation vector, which is -2, 0, like this, we want to draw the image. Remember, there are two ways that we had on obtaining the translation vector: by movement, and we also obtained the translation vector by calculations, if you still remember. So in the same sense, you can also do the same thing to say the translation vector can be determined. The object which we have there can give us the image if we move this vector that you're given, because a vector is a movement in X and also in Y. Remember, I said a vector is a movement which is obtained in terms of X and in terms of Y. It's a movement. So you're asking, you're just, it's like this. How many units that you moved in the X? How many units are being presented? -2. It means you are moving 2 units to the left. Remember what I said? In the X-axis, going to the right is a positive. Going to the left is a negative. To the Y-axis, when you're going up, that is a positive. If you're moving down, that is a negative. So what it means is that I moved 2 units to the left because it's a negative. We are moving to the left horizontally, that is in the X. So you're going to move each and every point. So we start with A, -2, that is, according to scale, each box is 1 unit. Each box represents 1. So we are going to move horizontally in the X. That is 1, 2. -2 at this point. We are moving to the left in the X-axis. This is where we are. What about the Y? How many units in the Y? That's a 0. A 0, that means there's no movement. We are not going to move in the Y. You just move in the X. So meaning to say we are just going to move 2 units in the X to the left. 1, 2. We are at this point at -4. At -4. So you mark the point. That is where our image A1 is. Okay, let me say, let's say this. If the movement was like this, -2, 1, like this, it means you're going to move -2, that's 1, 2 to the left. But this one, it represents that in the Y-axis, you are going to move 1, +1, going up. That means you're going to move 1 unit going up. So the point was going to be at this point. You move in the X, and also you move in the Y. But in this case, because the Y is a 0 there is no movement in the Y. You just move in the X only. 2 units to the left. So in the same sense, let us move on to the point B. We're going to move 2 units to the left. 1, 2. At the point we have moved 2 units, we are done. We mark that point. So that is where we have the image, which is B1. The same part with our C, it is going to move 2 units to the left. It's a negative, so it's going to move 1, 2. So our point C1 is at this point. That is where we are going to mark our point. That's our point C1. Then we can join our triangle from A to B, just like the previous case that we had. That is our triangle. So meaning to say at the end, you are having a complete triangle drawn in this manner. All right, sorry for that. It's only that you see these softwares, guys. Okay, so that is, you now have the image. From the object to the image, using the translation vector, we managed to draw the image by movement. A vector is a movement. A vector is a movement. A vector is a movement. Okay, this is not the only way. Remember how you calculated the translation vector before. So this is another way that we could have determined this triangle here, which is our image. Remember, you want to draw the image. So you come back here to say the translation vector, I know that it is the image minus the object. Okay, that's the image minus the object. That was our formula, image minus the object. So in this case, what is it that I need? I need the image. So I just need to make the image the subject of the formula. So how can I make the image the subject of the formula? I have to transpose this A to the other side, which is the object. So meaning to say that the translation vector, if I transpose a negative, the moment it crosses the equal sign, it becomes a positive. So it means that the translation vector plus the object must give us what? Must give us this image, which is A1, which is our image. So the image is simply the translation vector plus the object. So if you add the object to the translation vector, you obtain the image. You obtain the image. So what it simply means, remember that it's a triangle. You're given a triangle ABC like this. This is your object, this one. That's your object, the one that you're given originally. And if you are to consider our coordinates, it was A minus 2 minus 1, the point B, which was given as minus 2 minus 3, and also you were given the point C, which was given as minus 1 minus 3. These were the points that we are given, A, B, C. These were the points that were given, A, B, C. This is our object triangle. The one that we have or drawn in the first place, this one that we have there. The one that you have drawn in the first place, this triangle. That's the object. So the question is, how can we have this image? Let's say it's not there. This one, we remember we obtained it by what? By movement. So we can draw this by movement, which is the first part. Remember, I said it's a vector is a movement. So you can draw the image by movement, or you can use the formula by formula. So by using the formula, you have to consider the formula for the translation vector before image minus object. But what is it that I'm supposed to calculate? What is it that I'm supposed to do now? Supposed to draw the image. It means I need the coordinates of the image. So I have to make the image the subject of the formula. So by making the image the subject of the formula, it means that the point A1, which is the image, which corresponds to the point A is the object. So A1, which is the image of A, the image of A, it is the translation vector plus the object, which is point A. So it means if I add these two, I'm obtaining the image. The translation vector, what is the translation vector? You are given the we are given, remember our TV is minus 2, 0. So given the translation vector of minus 2, 0 like that, I'm going to add the point A now. A, I'm just going to write it as a vector. Okay, it's a point minus 2. Remember the point XY. So I'm going to add this minus 2, minus 1. So if I add these two, minus 2 plus minus 2, that's minus 4. 0 plus minus 1, that's minus 1 like this. So this represents A1, but as you can see, it's just a vector form. You just need to know that it simply means, therefore, the point A is minus 4, minus 1 like this is the coordinate now. Just like what it was given as A, minus 2, 1. But on the calculation, are you writing this as minus 2, minus 1? No, you are writing it as a vector. So it also means that if I am given this as a vector, I can represent it as a point also. I can write this as a point. It was truly a point, this one. It was truly a point, which is the point that we had here. But now it's just written as a vector. So it can also be taken in the same manner that a vector can also be presented as a point. So this is the condition. So you're going to do this, yes, or A, B, you do the same thing because we also need to know what is the image that is going to correspond to the point of B. So the image of B is going to be simply the translation vector plus the object. So we are going to add the translation vector is not going to change. All right, let me just write our translation vector here. Remember, our translation vector was -2, 0. So we are going to add the translation vector to the image of this, to the object of this image that we are calculating, which is the image of B. This is the one that we want, the image of what? Of B. So it represents the image of B. This is B here. This is the image of B. So you must add B here. So it is the translation vector, which is the translation vector -2, 0 like this. Then we add our point B. What is the point B? We already have this point B, but just at that, we just have to write this as a vector, -2, -3. We add -2 plus -2. Remember your vectors. -2 plus -2, it means -2 -2, which is -4. 0 plus -3, that means 0 -3, and 0 -3, that's -3. So that's our point B1. It's just a vector in the presentation. It's just a vector in the present, but we can write this as a point, B1 as a point that's -4, -3. All right, so that will be our point B1 as a point. Okay, we're just writing as a point now. The same thing that we are the same way that we calculated B1 and A1, we are going to do the same thing on what? On the point C1, which is the image of C. So the image of C, which is C1, we're just going to write this as C1. The image of C is the translation vector plus that point C, which is the translation vector -2, 0, plus the object of that point, which is the point C, -1, -3. So we are going to add this -1 plus -2 plus -1, that will be -3. That's -2, -1. Remember, plus and minus. 0 plus -3, that's 0 -3, and that will be -3. So that's C1 as a vector, but this simply represents the point C, which is to be drawn. So, and the point C1 is going to be -3, -3. So these are the points that you are going now to mark on the Cartesian plane to draw this. So you're now going to mark these points. A is -1, -4, -1, A1. So A1, -4, -1. As you can see, this is exactly where our A1 is, the one that you obtained by movement. You do the same thing on your B1, -4, -3. You're going to see it is going to be at the same point, -4, -3, exactly where our B1 is. The same thing with our C1, -3, -3. You mark the points, then you join. You are having a triangle, the same triangle that we had by movement. The same triangle that we had by movement, we can have it by calculation, by calculations now. You calculate the image of A, the image of B, the image of C. Then you mark the points you draw. So if you are to consider to say that I'm going to calculate A1 separately, B1 separately, yes, you can do that. But if you consider this also, it is simply like this. It is just to, what can I say? It is, you must just put this in mind to say that I want to draw the image. So I need the image of A1. I mean the image of A, the image of B, the image of C. So since the formula is the image is translation vector plus object, you can just write your images like this. The image of A1, the image of B1, the image of C1. Okay, you know how it's gonna be presented on the other part. So these images of A1, B1, C1 that you do not know, you're just gonna take them like this. Translation vector, your translation vector is -2, 0 like this, plus. Then you just add, you just take now to say this is A, this is B, this is C. So as you know, you're adding the object. So as you add A, you're obtaining the image of A1. As you add B, you obtain the image. So you can just present it this way if you are someone who does not want to have a lot of workings or a lot of calculations, you can just do that. So you add this to this, you add this to this, you add this to this, but knowing that it's representing A1, B1, C1. Yes, so you can actually do something like that. We know that as long you put it in mind, what exactly you are doing there. What is it that you're doing? So that is how we can have our image by calculation or by movement. Same thing, same image, but only that different ways are being used. But the same thing, the same thing. All right, so I want us to consider that because we still have some translation vectors there. So I would like you to try, okay, let's try 2 together. This 2, which is 2 minus 1. Given the translation vector 2 minus 1, this time our translation vector is 2 minus 1. So let's start by movement. So by movement, I said you are going to move. Remember, we still have the same object. You're going to use the same object. Our object is this one that I shaded here, ABC. So from ABC, we are supposed to move 2 units to X. Remember, your movement, it's XY. X positive 2, it means we are going to the right. Y is negative 1, which means we are going down. So you're going to move from A 2 units horizontally to the right. 1, 2. We are at this point. Take note, you're moving 1, 2. You're going to the right. But you are not going to end at this point. This is not just 2, 0. There is a movement also in the Y. Along the Y-axis, once you're at this point, you must move again 1 unit going down. The minus means you're going down. So you're going to move 1 unit going down. So we are now at this point. So this is your final point, this one. Take note. 1, 2 in the X going to the right. Then you move 1 unit going down in the Y. So you mark the final point. That is the one that you mark. So that is the image now. So maybe this is now A2. Remember, we had A1 here. So let us just say this is our A2. You do the same thing with B. How many units? 2 to the X, 1 going down in the Y. So let's move 1, 2. How many units going down? 1. We are now at the final point here at -4. That is our final point. You mark when you reach the final point, that's when you mark to say this is my final point, which is the image of B. So let's just say B2. See the same thing? See the same thing that we are having. 2 units going to the right. So we're going to move 1, 2 to the right. 1 unit going down, 1 unit going down. So this is our final point. You mark the final point. So this is your C2. Just like what we had on this previous question. But this time, there is a movement in the Y. So you have to consider to the X, then down in the Y. Forming each movement, as you can see, each movement as you are moving along, as you move along 2 units, these 2 units in the X, then also the 2 units, the 1 unit that you're moving going down, you are forming a right angle in the movement. You are forming a right angle. So that's the idea there. So as you have got these points, now you can join from A to B. Then you can just complete your triangle at the end. This is what you're going to have at the end, something like this, just like that. By movement, you consider to say that how many units am I going to move? So I want you to use that concept of finding it by the what? By the formula. Remember, by the formula, the translation vector is the image minus the object. The image minus the object. That is the formula for the translation vector. So to find the image, you have to transpose this. That means the image at the end is going to be what? Translation vector plus what? Plus object, as we saw in the previous case that we had. This is the formula for finding the image. So I want you to find the image. You calculate A2, you calculate the image B2, you calculate the image C2. If you calculate those points A2, B2, C2, you must obtain these exactly the coordinates that which are the ones that we see here. A2 being 0 minus 2, your B2 being 0 minus 4, your C2 being 1 minus 4. So I want you to do that. Okay, let's try this one again by movement, another vector that you're given. So I also want you to try this one. Okay, can you try this one by movement and also by calculation? So you are still using the same object A, B, C. So under this one, I want you to try, then you just write on the comment section the coordinates of the image that you're going to have. So this one, it is going to be triangle A3, B3, C3. So I want you to mention on the comment section the coordinates of triangle, the coordinates of A3, B3, C3, which are the coordinates of what? Of the image of this triangle after this translation vector. All right, so let's do question 4 together using the translation vector 4, 1. All right, this time our translation vector is 4, 1. So since you are going to use A3, B3, and C3 on the image of that item 3, so this time I'm going to use A4, B4, and C4. So let's start. We need to know the movement. 4, 1, the movement is always XY. So X is positive. It means you're going to the right. It's a positive. This one, it's a positive in the Y. So it means you are going to the positive in the X, then Y is positive. You are going up as you are forming your right angle. You move positive to the X, then positive to the Y, meaning to say going up. So how many units? Let's start with A, 4 units to the right. Okay, this is our A. We're gonna move 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are 4 units to the what? To the right. Then how many units going up? 1. So you're just gonna move 1 unit going up. So at the final point, that's where you mark the point. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I move 1 unit going up, forming a 90-degree. That's the idea. So meaning to say we are at minus 2, 0. That's where we are going to have our A4. Like I said, I'm going to use A4, B4, C4. You do the same thing on B, 4 units going to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have moved 4 units, but there is a 1 in the Y, so you move 1 unit going up. So this is your final point. At the final point, that's where you mark it. So you said 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1 here at 2 minus 2. So it's at 2 minus 2 here. So this will be our B4. We do the same thing, C4. You move how many units? 4, then 1. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we move 1 unit going up. So we're going to end up at this point at 3 versus minus 2. So you mark the point there at 3 versus minus 2. This is your point C4. These points, they are going to form a complete triangle, which is the image of the object that we had, the image of triangle ABC, given a translation vector of what? Given a translation vector of 4, 1. Meaning to say your A4 is going to be 2, 0, B4, 2 minus 3, your C4, 3 minus 2. So I want you to try by calculation and see if you are having exactly these coordinates that we are having here by calculation. So these are the typical questions that you're going to have. So make sure that you do revise as much questions as you can. So like I said, with this information now, you can answer any question of a translation, any question which needs you to work with the translation. Is it to describe? We talked about that. is it to draw the image given the object and its translation vector. So we are going to work with the next transformation, which is a reflection. So make sure that you do the right thing to subscribe so that you do not miss those classes, and also to have a graph paper where you are actually practicing these questions. You must practice these questions. Do not just watch and say, I understand. Practice. By practicing, you are making it perfect. So these are the typical questions that you're going to expect in your final examinations.